Communities. I'm your host, Nancy Bacci. With me today is Cory Mashburn, the Director of the Somerville Office Prevention for the city's Health and Human Services Department. Thank you for coming on, Cory.
Thank you for having me, Nancy.
As you know, we do this every year to talk about National Night Out. It's a huge event that seems to grow in size, in resources, and performances, and everything as years go by. It is definitely an event that the community looks forward to each year. I think one of the most important things about that is always that first Tuesday in August, so people really are able to just lock it in and know where they're going to be on that date. So can you talk just a little bit about National Night Out itself, the history of it, and how many years Somerville's been involved?
Sure. National Night Out, mostly on the first Tuesday of August, over 25,000 communities has an event or a day of events. And it really is to bring the community and the police together. But with us, we like to bring other organizations too.
We bring everybody.
Yeah, everybody. For us, we've been doing it, I've been here since 2008. We've been doing it since, I think, early 2000s. And it's grown and grown. The space that we have at Foss Park has grown and grown because we have to redesign it to fit more organizations, which is a good thing to have. But I think it is just because of what the world is seeing and what we're seeing in local communities, bringing the police and the community together is a great thing.
I think it's very timely, as you had mentioned. I mean, you know, we're all aware of the issues that are surrounding cities, nations, you know, there's a lot going on. So I think people are particularly looking now for ways to connect with each other, with organizations, and you know, like you said, particularly with the police department. It's really nice to see them out and so engaged with the community, and it's a nice tie-in with a lot of the other work that they're doing as well. You know, they have their STEPS program that connects with students in the schools. They've partnered with the walking dialogues that they're doing with teen empowerment out and about in the community. This year, they've just started this past week the first ever Youth Police Academy, which is another really great way to make the connection. So I think any of those opportunities where people are able to interact with the police in a very relaxed, casual manner. You know, it's very different watching a group singing, standing next to the chief of police or one of the, you know, neighborhood police officers, as opposed to in a more tense situation perhaps, and building those relationships proactively benefits the entire community.
I think it benefits the community. I think it gives the officers another role as, you know, I'm not just a police officer, I'm a resident or I'm a neighbor, and it gives them the opportunity to talk to residents in a different setting and not just in the police station.
Great. So National Night Out itself, in a minute I know we're going to look at a clip of last year's event. So tell us a little more of the specifics, date, time, where in Foss Park it's happening.
Yeah, so it's going to be on August 1st from 5 to 8 at Foss Park. Next, it's going to be at the toddler section near the playground, near the pool. And it's going to be a totally redesigned this year, just because we have a lot more organizations coming, which is nice. We have about 36 organizations that are going to be tabling. We'll have performances from 5:30 on. So it should be a nice night to just get out, eat some food, be with friends.
Yeah, and the location is really great. I mean, it's so convenient to get to. As you know, right at the intersection of Broadway and McGrath Highway, you have public transportation. People are able to park nearby, walk over. It really, and the visibility, I think, even for people who may not have known it was coming, you drive by and you're like, hey, there seems to be something fun happening. And we've seen that happen consistently every year where people kind of pull over and come up and like, hey, I was passing by and saw this. I want to know more. And then they end up becoming active participants and attending each year.
Well, we have volunteers that are walking through the event usually and asking, you know, what made you come here? And we have a lot of walkthroughs, which is when you try to gauge on how many people were there, you always have walkthroughs, and it's kind of, how many walkthroughs do we have? But it's a nice evening.
It definitely is. So why don't we take a clip and see what some of the action looked like last year?
Cool.
Great.
to the 2016 National Night Out.
First and foremost, I just want to say that I'm grateful that everybody came out today to show support. All the organizations, you know, I grew up in Somerville my whole life, and I was a victim to this opioid epidemic, you know. But I just want to say, if it wasn't for like these community organizations, you know, people coming together, speaking up to help try to break this stigma, you know, if it wasn't for them, like, I don't know if I would be here today, you know. These organizations saved my life. You know, Somerville's my heart and soul.
As I mentioned, we have 42 dogs right now currently on the state police. We're split east and west. We also train many local police departments that come to train with us. Malden, Medford, Everett, all come to us, and several others out in the southern part of the state and the central and western part of the state. We have departments that come and they train with us from the time they get their dog. We train them just like we train our own, and they continue with weekly maintenance training, okay? We have a minimum of 2 training days a month, but training is available every single week for every handler that's in our group. Okay, you'll notice that sleeve, it looks pretty heavy, right? It's pretty solid underneath. Doing that a couple times a night, you're gonna feel it, okay? Canines have very, very strong jaws. That's a happy dog, right? He has his reward.
Mom's cooking fills the projects as the kids grab the scooters to go circle the back near the Clarendon Hill benches. The boy across the way is looking out his window. Time to come over and get some bruises and blood on their new shorts and get yelled at by SHA because once again, they're sneaking in front of the fence to climb trees and throw apples. The girl with the pretty pink bike, her mother told her not to let anybody touch her bike or her Puerto Rican hair braided in 2 jumbo braids. The girl from the lower lot comes, and she plays too, super fast at running tag. Her hair is nappy as ever and such a big, beautiful afro. She didn't care when people touched it. All the kids run over to the park the next building over. The hoodmen always taught the little ones lessons in front of the building with the cornered stairs. Never lose yourself. Have respect for yourself. Never disobey your parents. And always remember where you come from and then be better. Born in the winter time, but I came alive in the summer times. Hot times, cool and breezy nights, candy, bikes, troop to East for Louis ice cream. But I'm a CHP baby, and we all know the best slush is made from the lady in the front of the lower lot, only 25 cents for a plastic cup.
Here you go, go ahead. Nice. Give me another one. Good. Get on up. Look who's here.
saw that clip really showed a really accurate depiction of the event. There was something for everyone. There was music and bubbles, a dancing banana, the sunsetters, police equipment, fire equipment, resource tables, physical activity, the canine units. That was great. I think that really was an amazing snapshot to show people, like, here's why you have to come out. Because if you don't want to see a performance, you go to a table. If you don't want to go to the table, you blow bubbles with the little kid. There are a lot of things available at that. And the energy that you kind of see from the crowd is really nice too, how engaged people are in the interactions with the tables and participating in the different options. So.
Well, that takes, the tables, I really appreciate what the tables do, because they bring all the energy. They bring the giveaways, the crayons for the kids, or the bubbles, and they really bring it. Because if it wasn't for our partners and them, then this event wouldn't be as what it is.
Right. Now, why do you feel it's important that the city of Somerville participates? As you said, there are 25,000 communities, but what makes it important for us to be part of it?
I think it's important. I mean, there's a lot of events that people table at and this and that, but just because of the work that we do around prevention, and especially with this event being around crime and drug prevention, I think it's a good collaboration between the police and the city. But really, it lets people, summer night, if it's not too hot, under shade, get to a park, and they get to know that that park is safe for their kids. And I think that's the reason why it's at Foss Park, because there's a lot of events at other parks and locations around the city, but not a lot at Foss because it's owned by the state. So it's nice that we can have it there to show that we have this park.
Right,
I mean,
it's
a
the
huge
largest
park.
green space in the entire city. I mean, people sometimes don't realize. I always enjoy talking with first-time visitors to the event or to Foss Park itself, and they walk and they're like, what's that way down the end? It's like there are tennis courts and all of these other, amenities available. There's the pool, there's, a lot of different ways for people to utilize the space. So it is really important to highlight that. Now, what do you see as the role of the Office of Prevention and Somerville Cares About Prevention in managing such an event and making the connections with the community and the partner entities?
Well, I think it's keeping the event going, but it's actually bringing new organizations in. This year we have about 5 or 6 new organizations we've never had there. And it's really getting them, 1, to know the event, but 2, to get to know Somerville. And for Somerville Cares About Prevention being a coalition of residents, business owners, local leaders, it's our job to make sure that people know Somerville. And there's been a couple of organizations that are going to be there that are not from Somerville, but they're from neighboring cities.
And provide service to Somerville residents.
So it's actually a good collaboration.
Now, what sort of feedback have you heard from our community partners who participate in the event? People who send staff to table or volunteer their own time to assist with the event. What are their thoughts about it?
We always try to make sure that our partners and organizations that are there get the most out of the event. So we hear back from them about weather, about being in the sun, or
being in the shade.
Being in the shade, seeing the performances. But it's really mostly positive information about. They get tons of people that they didn't know, that they never. Some of them don't get to table in like close to East Somerville. I mean, we have summer streets in Somerville, but a lot of them don't come to summer streets at table. So it gives them the opportunity, and it's close to. Well, it's not. It's closer to school time. So
in August, believe me, in August, parents are already thinking about back to school.
Yes, I mean, they're looking for back to school lists, where they can go. It's nice to have these organizations so that parents can know that these are here for my kids after school. And I think after school time is
critical. One of my favorite things, and I know I've shared it with you in the past, is we were setting up a number of years back, and a woman had happened upon the event who had just moved in to Fells Way West, which is a street that abuts Foss Park, and she had literally moved in the day before and was walking through on her way, back and forth from Stop and Shop or something, and was just like, what is this all about? So we talked with her, and she came back, she brought her kids, she left with like an entire tote bag of resources. And for someone who literally, you couldn't be a newer resident and just moved in the evening before and find out all of these things was available. And she was so appreciative. And really, she had moved here from a surrounding community, and she was like, just amazed by the amount of services that Somerville offers, and really having that option. You stop by the library table and they can talk to you about all of their programming, and Somerville reads a book that the entire city reads at one time, and all of these different amazing things that happen. So it really, I think it gave me a slightly different perspective, because we're there every year and it's great, and it's a nice way to get engaged with the community, but to hear the perspective of someone who just found out about all of this, it really makes you proud to work here.
Yeah,
It does.
I
There
guess
are
it
a
does.
lot of things available. So when we start thinking of the night of the actual event, what does the lineup look like? I know you had mentioned earlier that performances start at 5:30, but if you're
5:30.
coming at 5 p.m., what are you saying?
There'll be fire trucks there, ambulances, neighborhood police officers. We're looking at probably 20 police officers themselves that are going to be there. There'll be the K-9 unit usually comes around 5:30. They'll go on around 6. But
We'll have the tables available
yes, the
starting
table.
from 5
Yeah, the
p.m.
tables will be there from. Some of them get there at 4:30. So from 5 to 8, all the tables should be available to you, or setting up too.
Right. So starting 5:30.
Start at 5:30. There'll be performances. There'll be speeches by the mayor, the police chief. There'll be performances by the Red Tiger Academy.
That's a huge hit every year.
That is, and it's always always
interesting
nice.
how they incorporate music into the performance, because sometimes when I think you hear like martial arts, people are like, oh, and then you realize like they utilize the music to really make it very energetic. And when you watch the crowd during a performance like that, they're really enthralled by it.
Well, and the best thing about that is that they bring the crowd into it too. I think the first time that I talked to them and they hadn't been a part of it yet, I was just like you. It's karate.
Right.
What can you do? But the first time I saw them, it was
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah.
It's like I was expecting breaking boards and stuff like
Right.
that only.
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
so we have that. We have teen empowerment. They'll do spoken word.
Right.
The Sunsetters, and we'll have the K-9 unit, which always everybody
Is a
likes
big-
dogs.
yeah.
So
I think one thing that's really important, and you had touched on it earlier, is so when you have these sorts of variety of performances, each of those people kind of bring their own support system, right? So the Sunsetters will have the parents who come out to watch their young children perform, as well as other people. But then you have someone who maybe came for Red Tiger and sees the other and finds out all of this other stuff, or came specifically to hear a spoken word piece by Teen Empowerment, and then was able to get resource information at a table. So I think it really broadens the participation immensely.
yes, I think that's where the organizations really can bring a lot. Is they can outreach themselves, and they can bring their own clientele that they deal with, and then they can grow, and then they can tell people that they came this year, and they'll come next year.
So earlier you had mentioned a little bit the work of Somerville Cares About Prevention and the Office of Prevention. Can you take a few minutes now and talk a little bit about the work that your office does and kind of how that makes sense to tie in with National Night Out?
So our office, the Office of Prevention, has Somerville Cares About Prevention, which is a community-based substance use coalition. And we have the Six City Tobacco Initiative, which handles compliance of tobacco in Cambridge, Somerville, Revere, Chelsea, Winthrop. Yes. And then, but we're housed in the Health and Human Services Department. So there's tons of resources within our department. But for us, we really look to collaborate with local organizations so we can we can assist youth to make better decisions and healthier decisions.
So perhaps a few of the campaigns might be of interest to the viewers that you do?
Yeah, so we do, one big campaign that we do is the Most Don't campaign, which really, we really like to highlight what kids are doing right. And mostly we know that most kids are not drinking or smoking marijuana in the school. So we actually have a Most Don't campaign where a kid will wear a button that says Most Don't, and then if I'm wearing it, you'll ask me, what does that mean? Well, most Somerville High School students don't smoke marijuana and drink alcohol. So then I'll give you a button. And then I'll give you 10 buttons. And then we actually, when we first started that program, I think there was at least 75% of the kids in the whole school had buttons on their backpacks, on themselves. And
I think it's really interesting too. It's one of my favorite things when I see the kids around it. And, I like to ask them a little bit, find out information. And just that sense, because, we've all heard it. Everyone who is watching the show now, you and I when we were younger, there was always that sense that, everybody's doing this or everybody has tried that. And we know, and the data backs it up, that that is in fact not the case. And I think sometimes when you think back about being in high school or in middle school and some of the isolation you feel at that age, you're trying to navigate how you fit in and kind of who the person you're going to be, and you're making friend choices and other life choices that have consequences attached to them. And I think if you really are kind of feeling siloed and think that you're the only one struggling with this, or, making good choices about when you're at an event and someone starts drinking, or you're out with someone and they've consumed alcohol and they're your ride home, and all of these things that are so difficult to navigate through and feel that you're still, staying true to who you are, but, everybody wants to fit in somewhere. So it's a tough thing to balance. And I think just the visual of seeing that when you walk throughout the school with that, because the number is always amazingly high. The percentage of Somerville High School students who don't fill in the blank, don't smoke or don't drink alcohol, whatever it is amazing. And to start that dialogue and for young people to really see that as true information, because, they take the survey together as, and the same time with their entire class, and then realize, if you thought you were the only one, when you start to see this, you realize you're nowhere near the only one.
No, and I think another thing that we try to do is work with the schools as much as possible, but the high school has a brand new health curriculum, which we assisted on bringing in. So this is the first year that they had it. It's called Life Skills, and it really works on decision making. It's not just decision making about drugs and alcohol. It's about decision making about life choices.
Right.
And I think that's where kids, they need that information.
I agree. I mean, I hate to sound like I'm 100 years old, but with the advent of social media, and for these young people who have grown up with it as being just part of the norm of their lifestyle, there's that sense of, you're eager to share things, you want to like something or, make a comment on something, and not realizing the consequential actions of that. We hear that all the time with students who are applying to college. This is in the newspaper and stuff. And then all of a sudden you find out like the colleges are looking you up and places of employment are doing a Google search on you. And all of a sudden, these things pop up and it has serious consequences for them. And if you're not involved making the smart decisions to lay the foundation, then there's really no way to work that out.
That's where the police department really comes into play too, because the new STEP program in the middle school, 6th to 8th grade. And I think having a police officer follow kids is another avenue.
Right.
But the police department also has a diversion program too, where kids, if you make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes, but there's different. I'm not going to arrest you for everything. We're going to work with you, community service and things like that. So I think that's a key component with the collaboration between us and the police department.
I think one of the other important things too that your office is involved in is the issue of bullying. It is something that has changed again as technology has advanced. It's very different. And I've heard you speak several times to groups of students on this with the real information that, when we were younger, if you had something going on with somebody at school or had something, so you had interactions at school, but when you went home, even if they dared to call your house, there was always a chance a parent would answer or something. So you had kind of a safe place to go where you had a time off from it. You could regroup, you could talk with your family about some strategies, and then have something in place for the next day to handle the situation. Now, as we know, phones are just glued to people, so there's really no break from it. Social media is available 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, and you don't even have to have a phone. Even if you have a Facebook page and you don't look at it, people could be talking about you.
Right. People access things through their gaming systems too, and
everything.
all kinds of different options. So I think, again, it circles back to making these smarter choices. And again, when your office conducts the youth behavior survey, it really provides such good information to help inform programming.
Well, that's around the bullying, and I think you pointed out the cyberbullying is huge, but we go into the 6th to 8th grade and we teach them about bystanders. How if you see somebody getting bullied, how do you help them?
Right.
Do you go tell somebody? Do you help them out yourself? Do you go teach to a teacher? But that's the world is changing, and we need to be up on how it's changing to make our youth's lives a little bit easier.
I think so too. You see how there's a different level of pressure now, I think, on young people. So, you know, when you have the opportunity to host an event like this, such as National Night Out, where families come together, you know, you'll see some teenagers or something come through, but we see a lot of families. Part of that I noticed in the clip, we had highlighted the Somerville Family Learning Collaborative, which is a very strong partner of ours with the Somerville Public School System, and their interactions with families and promotion of an event such like this brings out so many people who are then learning all of this other information, gathering resources that they can utilize, and I think really developing a stronger family unit, which I think is important when we talk about making these smart decisions.
Well, I think when a youth goes to school, it could be anything preschool on, parents right there.
Right.
So they have to know, one, what's my child learning, and how can I help them outside of school?
Right.
Because in school they're learning something. So how can I take that and use it on the outside school to make them even safer?
Yeah, they're definitely, there's a lot going on in a lot of different ways. What I think important for a takeaway for this is for people coming to this event, you know, they're going to have the opportunity to learn about programs, resources, ways to get themselves, their children, their friends, their neighbors, their family members, all involved in different things that are happening in the city. We're extraordinarily fortunate to have so many resources in this city, and I think this event is a really nice way to showcase them all. So we hope that everyone is available to come out to it. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about it. If people have questions, they can connect with you directly. Information is on the city website. I know our local media have picked up quite a bit of it as well. So do you have any closing thoughts?
No, just come out, have a good time, and just know that the city has resources and we're here for you.
Yeah. First Tuesday of August, Foss Park, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. We look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'd like to thank the production crew, Joe Constantine and Steve DiCarlo. We'll see you next month. That went by really fast.
Yeah, always does.
I know. Well, there's